aṣíwájú ni wá o.
Vicinity FM àwa ní bàbá.
We lead while others follow. We lead while others follow. Vicinity FM ní kejìlẹ̀ o.
We lead while others follow.
Music. Sports.
In towards Lukaku.
Entertainment.
Cut the beat.
Politics.
That's all.
All on your darling station, Vicinity 95.3 FM, Ikejule, Ijesha.
News from around the world. Vicinity FM 95.3.
This is Vicinity 95.3 FM, Ikejile, Ijesha. The time is 12 o'clock. I am Paul Eteng with Global News. First, the headlines. World Bank urges federal government to implement reforms against rising inflation. Former Tunisian Prime Minister sentenced to 34 years in prison over terrorism charges. And Romania right-wing nationalist wins first round of presidential election. World Bank has counseled the federal government to implement reforms that protect the country's poorest against rising inflation, boost the livelihood of all Nigerians through more productive work, which is said is key to reversing high poverty levels. In its latest April 2025 Poverty and Equity Brief for Nigeria, obtained on Monday, declared more Nigerians would become poor over the next 5 years, citing that the country's structural economic weaknesses, dependence on oil revenues, and national fragility as key barriers to meaningful poverty reduction. President Bola Tinubu, upon assumption of office in May 29, 2023, implemented bold economic reforms with the removal of fuel subsidies and the floating of the naira, resulting in the rise of inflation rates. The presidency has faulted recent claims by outgoing president of the African Development Bank, AFDB, Akinwumi Adesina, maintaining that his recent remarks failed to capture the full story of the country's growth and transformation for 6 decades. Responding to claims suggesting Nigerians are worse off today than they were at independence in 1960. The special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, urged that significant progress has been made in various sectors since 1960. He asserted that any impartial evaluation would recognize the country has achieved significant progress since gaining independence. Togolese leader Faure Gnassingbe has been sworn in as the President of Council of Ministers, the highest office in the government's executive branch with no official term limits. This follows constitutional reform that ended presidential elections and introduced a parliamentary system. Opposition said the change was in order to allow President Gnassingbe to stay in power indefinitely, labeled it as institutional coup d'etat. Faure Gnassingbe took over in 2005 from his father Gnassingbe Eyadema, who ruled for almost 4 decades. Former Tunisian Prime Minister Ali Larayede has been sentenced to 34 years in prison after he was found guilty of facilitating jihadist travel to Syria, a crime he denied during his trial. Larayede, a leading figure of the Islamic Ennahda Party, served as Prime Minister from 2013 to 2014. The verdict comes amid a sweeping crackdown on opposition voices, lawyers, and media figures under President Kais Saied rule. Critics call it a political purge since Saied took full control in 2021, claiming it is a move to silence protests against the government. The Sudanese military confirmed that Rapid Support Forces, RSF, launched their first drone strike on Port Sudan, targeting the Osman Digna Air Base, an ammunition depot, and nearby civilian infrastructure. No casualties have been reported, but flight in and out of the city has been suspended, with one flight from Dubai diverted to Saudi Arabia. The attacks marked a major escalation in Sudan's civil war and threatened Port Sudan's status as a safe haven and de facto administrative capital since the conflict began in 2023. International organizations have expressed concerns over the use of drones and the potential collapse of humanitarian operations in the city. Authorities continue to assess the damage and brace for possible further attacks. The RSF has not claimed responsibility for the latest drone strike. This is Vicinity 95.3 FM, Kejile Jesha. Global news will continue shortly. For comments, breaking news, and coverage of events, send an email to vicinitynewsroom@gmail.com or call 0814-365-8302. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Vicinity 95.3 FM. Now, the rest of the news. Israel's Security Cabinet has approved a plan to expand its military offensive against Hamas and capture Gaza and holding the territory. Israeli military has called up tens of thousands of its troops in preparation for the move, saying it is increasing military pressure with the aim of bringing home the remaining Israeli hostages and defeating Hamas. Reports revealed the move will be implemented after U.S. President Donald Trump visits to the region next week. In the meantime, Israel cabinet has approved a plan to resume deliveries of humanitarian aid through private companies, ending a 2-month blockade. Right-wing nationalist candidate has won the first round of presidential election in Romania. George Simeon came first with 40.96% of the vote and will go into the runoff on 18th May against the liberal mayor of Bucharest. 6 months ago, Romania conducted a presidential election which ended in scandal and confusion, won by a radical outsider, Kalin. However, the result was annulled over allegation of campaign fraud and Russian interference. In the recent polls, which ended on Sunday, Simeon's strong support in the Romanian diaspora secured more than 70% of votes in Italy, Spain, and Germany, where Romania largely do blue-collar work. Simeon, 38, is an admirer of U.S. President Donald Trump, is pushing for an EU of strong sovereign nations. British police have arrested 8 men, including several Iranian nationals, and have detained 5 of them on suspicion of plotting a terrorist attack in London, Swindon, and Greater Manchester, while 3 others were arrested under the National Security Act in London for state threats, including espionage. The Metropolitan Police confirmed the suspects were being investigated for an alleged plot targeting an unarmed location. Authorities are exploring various lines of inquiry, with one suspect's nationality still being established. Home Secretary White Cooper commended the police's swift action in tackling national security threats, with authorities assessing any broader risks to public safety. Police have urged the public to stay alert but not alarmed. United States President Donald Trump has announced plans to impose a 100% tariff on all foreign-produced films, citing overseas competition as a threat to Hollywood and U.S. national security. He claimed that other countries are luring American filmmakers abroad and accused them of stealing the U.S. movie industry. Trump appointed actors Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and Jon Voight as special ambassadors to help restore a golden age of Hollywood. While Trump did not explain how the tariff would be enforced, trade experts warned the plan could be difficult to implement and may violate international trade rules. Hollywood continues to face financial challenges with 2024 global box office revenues still well below pre-pandemic levels. And a bit of sports, Bayern Munich secured their record-extending 34th Bundesliga title after Bayer Leverkusen drew 2-2 at Freiburg, confirming the Bavarians as champions with 2 matches to spare. The result handed England's captain Harry Kane his first major trophy, despite being suspended for Bayern's 3-3 draw against RB Leipzig a day earlier. Leverkusen needed a win to keep the title race alive, but fell short despite a late comeback, leaving them 8 points behind Bayern. Manager Xabi Alonso, a former Bayern player himself, praised the champions for their consistency over the season. To end global news, another look at the headlines. World Bank has countered the federal government to implement reforms that protects the country's poorest against rising inflation. We told you the former Tunisian Prime Minister Ali Lared has been sentenced to 34 years in prison after he was found guilty of facilitating jihadist travel to Syria, a crime he denied during his trial. And lastly, you heard right-wing nationalist candidate has won the first round of presidential election in Romania. George Simeon came first with 40.96% of the vote and will go into the runoff on 18th May. That was Global News. It was edited by Oluwa Funke Israel. On behalf of the production crew, I am Paulette Eng. Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for News Nationwide at 6 o'clock. Good afternoon.
We are your connection to the sounds that surround you.
Hit music belongs here. I got the keys to the city.